One of the most interesting political conversations emerging ahead of the 2027 general elections is the growing discussion around what many people now describe as the Obi Kwankwaso 4-year strategy. From my perspective, this idea is gaining attention because it attempts to solve one of the biggest challenges in Nigerian politics, which is how to balance regional interests while building a strong national coalition. The strategy being discussed is simple but politically powerful. The idea is that Peter Obi could serve for a single 4-year term while Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso and northern political interests remain deeply involved in the power arrangement and future succession conversation. Whether this becomes an official agreement or remains a political understanding, the fact that people are already discussing it shows how serious the Obi Kwankwaso alliance is beginning to look. What makes this strategy important is that it is being presented not just as a campaign arrangement but as a unity and transition plan. In Nigerian politics, perception matters a lot, and many supporters of this idea believe it creates a sense of inclusion rather than domination. Instead of appearing like a sectional project, the alliance is being positioned as a bridge between regions, generations, and political interests. From where I stand, this is one reason the conversation is gaining momentum so quickly. Many Nigerians are tired of endless political division and are more open to any arrangement that appears capable of reducing tension and promoting balance. The 4-year understanding is therefore being marketed politically as a compromise solution that allows different blocs to feel represented while also creating a sense of urgency for governance delivery. Another reason this alliance is attracting national attention is because both Obi and Kwankwaso already have established political identities that appeal to different groups. Obi is strongly associated with reform-minded politics, youth mobilization, and economic accountability, while Kwankwaso represents grassroots political organization and northern political structure. Bringing these two forces together creates a narrative that naturally attracts public curiosity. From my analysis, this is why discussions around the alliance continue to dominate political conversations. People are no longer looking at Obi and Kwankwaso as isolated figures. They are beginning to view them as parts of a potentially larger political machine capable of challenging the ruling structure in 2027. Why northern political interests are warming up to Obi. One of the biggest developments many people are beginning to notice is the gradual warming of some northern political interests toward Peter Obi. And from my perspective, Kwankwaso is playing a major role in making that possible. Traditionally, Obi's strongest support base has been concentrated in the southeast, south-south, and among urban youths across the country. However, one of the major criticisms after the 2023 election was that he needed stronger northern political acceptance to become truly competitive on a national scale. This is where the Kwankwaso connection becomes strategically important. Kwankwaso already commands significant influence in the Northwest through the Kwankwasia movement, and his endorsement or alignment naturally opens doors that may previously have been difficult for Obi to access politically. From my analysis, the 4-year proposal itself is also helping to soften resistance among some northern stakeholders. In Nigerian politics, there is always sensitivity around power rotation, representation, and long-term political balance. By presenting the arrangement as a limited-term understanding rather than a permanent shift, the alliance appears more inclusive to certain political interests. Some northerners may see it not as losing political relevance, but as participating in a shared transition strategy. That changes the political psychology around the conversation. Instead of framing the alliance as one region taking power from another, supporters are framing it as a cooperative arrangement designed to stabilize the country politically and economically before the next phase of leadership. Kwankwaso's role here cannot be underestimated. He is not just a running mate figure in this conversation. He is the bridge between Obi and northern political trust. From where I stand, that may be one of the most powerful aspects of the alliance. Northern politics is heavily influenced by networks, trust, and long-standing relationships, and Kwankwaso already possesses many of those connections. If he actively commits his structure to the alliance, then Obi's acceptance in parts of the north could improve significantly compared to previous elections. This is why many observers are beginning to take the alliance more seriously than earlier opposition coalitions. It is not just about combining votes. It is about combining credibility across regions. The power of the Obi Kwankwaso numbers. When people talk about why the Obi Kwankwaso alliance could become dangerous politically, the answer often comes back to numbers. If you look closely at the 2023 election results, The combined strength of Obi and Kwankwaso represented a very significant portion of the Nigerian electorate. Individually, both candidates already demonstrated that they could mobilize passionate and loyal support bases. Obi generated unprecedented enthusiasm among young Nigerians, first-time voters, and urban populations, while Kwankwaso maintained strong grassroots loyalty in key northern states, especially Kano. Once you begin to imagine those structures working together instead of separately, the political calculation changes completely. Another major advantage of the alliance is the energy behind its supporters. The obedient movement remains one of the most active youth-driven political movements in Nigeria today. Even outside election periods, Obi's supporters continue to dominate political discussions online and offline. On the other hand, the Kwankwaso movement is known for disciplined grassroots mobilization and strong community-level organization. From my perspective, this combination of youthful energy and grassroots structure could become extremely powerful if properly coordinated. Elections are not won only through elite negotiations. They are won through voter mobilization, enthusiasm, and turnout. And right now, the Obi-Kwankwaso alliance appears capable of generating all three. Why the 4-year promise could hurt Tinubu politically? From my perspective, one of the reasons the Obi-Kwankwaso 4-year proposal is generating so much attention is because it touches a very sensitive area in Nigerian politics, which is political balance and regional inclusion. In Nigeria, elections are rarely decided by popularity alone. Many voters and political stakeholders also pay close attention to questions of fairness, rotation, and long-term representation. This is where the proposed 4-year understanding begins to create political pressure for Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the ruling All Progressives Congress. The idea being promoted by supporters of the alliance is that a single-term arrangement could create a smoother political transition while reducing fears of domination by one bloc. Whether people agree with the strategy or not, it is clearly resonating with some political interests, especially among groups that may have previously remained undecided. One of the most important aspects of this proposal is how it could attract northern political blocs that are still observing the opposition from a distance. From my analysis, many northern stakeholders are not only interested in who becomes president, but also in what happens after that presidency. The 4-year understanding appears to offer reassurance that power-sharing conversations are still part of the arrangement. This changes the tone of the political discussion because it creates the impression of inclusiveness rather than exclusion. Instead of seeing the Obi-Kwankwaso alliance as a project centered around one region, supporters are presenting it as a cooperative arrangement where different political interests remain relevant. That is politically strategic because perception often shapes alliances long before elections begin. Another reason this proposal could hurt Tinubu politically is because it increases fears within the ruling party about the possibility of a more united opposition. One of the biggest advantages the APC enjoyed in previous elections was the inability of opposition figures to fully coordinate their strengths. Once opposition candidates divide themselves across multiple platforms, the ruling party naturally gains an advantage. But when discussions begin around a unified structure with shared agreements, it changes the calculation entirely. From where I stand, the real concern for the APC is not just Obi or Kwankwaso individually, but the possibility of their support bases working together under a disciplined arrangement. Obi brings strong youth engagement and urban political energy, while Kwankwaso contributes northern grassroots organization. Combined with the symbolism of a 4-year compromise, that creates a message capable of attracting voters who may normally remain politically neutral. Rotational balance also remains a powerful force in Nigerian politics, whether people openly admit it or not. The idea that leadership should move across regions and accommodate different interests continues to influence political decisions across the country. This is why the 4-year arrangement is politically clever. It attempts to align itself with that national sentiment by presenting the alliance as temporary, balanced, and inclusive rather than permanent and dominant. From my perspective, that message alone could create difficulties for Tinubu because it appeals to voters who prioritize political fairness and stability. Can the APC counter the growing momentum? Despite the growing attention around the Obi-Kwankwaso alliance, it would be a mistake to underestimate the strength of the All Progressives Congress and the political machinery surrounding Tinubu. From my analysis, one of Tinubu's greatest advantages remains his structure. He is widely regarded as one of the most strategic political operators in Nigeria, with deep networks across different regions and within major political institutions. Incumbency itself also provides enormous advantages. Control of government structures, influence within party systems, and nationwide political relationships all create a strong foundation for the APC going into 2027. That means the ruling party is unlikely to sit back and watch the opposition consolidate without responding strategically. Game changer or political gamble. At the end of the day, the biggest question surrounding the Obi-Kwankwaso 4-year arrangement is whether it represents a true political breakthrough or simply another risky coalition experiment. From my perspective, the strategy contains both major opportunities and serious risks. On one hand, it offers something many Nigerians have been demanding for years, which is broader opposition unity and a more inclusive political conversation. By combining regional strengths and presenting a compromise-based arrangement, the alliance appears more balanced than many previous coalitions. That alone makes it politically attractive. However, coalition politics in Nigeria has always been extremely difficult to sustain. One of the biggest risks facing this arrangement is trust. Agreements made during political negotiations often become harder to maintain once power enters the conversation. Questions around succession, implementation of the 4-year understanding, and future political control could eventually create tension within the alliance. From my analysis, this may become the defining challenge of the entire strategy. It is one thing to unite around defeating an incumbent government, but it is another thing entirely to maintain discipline after interests begin to collide. There is also the issue of coalition discipline. Supporters may be excited now, but political structures require careful coordination over time. Every major stakeholder involved in the alliance will expect influence, recognition, and strategic relevance. Managing those expectations without creating internal conflict will require extraordinary political discipline. Nigerian political history is filled with examples of strong alliances that collapsed because leaders could not maintain unity under pressure. That is why I believe the coming years will test whether this arrangement is truly different from previous opposition coalitions. Whether it ultimately becomes a game changer or a political gamble will depend on how effectively the alliance manages trust, structure, and discipline in the months ahead. But regardless of the final outcome, the political landscape in Nigeria is already shifting, and the road to 2027 is becoming far more competitive and unpredictable than many initially expected.